You're standing on a street corner at 2 in the morning and someone just handed you $300 to watch a door. That's it. Just stand there. Look intimidating. Make sure nobody walks into that social club without permission. You're not a member of anything. You're not protected by anyone. You're what the Mafia calls an associate, and right now you're one wrong move away from disappearing. The structure that governs your life was designed in 1931 by a man named Salvatore Maranzano, and it hasn't changed much since. He created the 5 families, each operating like a corporation built on blood and silence. What makes this hierarchy so effective is how it insulates the people at the top from the people doing the actual work. You're at the bottom of that machine, and the machine doesn't care about you. Here's what nobody tells you about being an associate. You can be anyone, literally anyone. The guy running numbers for the family, the lawyer who makes evidence disappear, the cop who looks the other way, the business owner who lets them use his warehouse. Nationality doesn't matter at this level. Background doesn't matter. What matters is that you're useful and you keep your mouth shut. The Mafia doesn't advertise job openings. They find you, they test you, and if you pass, you start getting calls. The calls come at all hours because you're on duty 24 hours a day. An associate doesn't get to say no. When a soldier tells you to pick up a package, you pick up the package. When someone tells you to deliver an envelope, you deliver it. You don't ask what's inside, you definitely don't open it. Associates who ask too many questions stop being associates real quick, and not in a good way. Right. You're earning, though, maybe a few hundred a week, maybe a few thousand if you're running a decent operation. But here's the catch. Everything you make, you kick a percentage up to the soldier you report to. He takes his cut, then passes a portion up the chain. You're a revenue stream, and the further up the ladder someone sits, the more streams they're collecting from. The worst part? You're completely expendable. Fair game on the streets, as they say. If a rival crew wants to send a message, they can hurt you, kill you, and there's no retaliation coming. You're not a made man. You don't have that protection. The organization might care if you're particularly valuable, like a corrupt judge or a police captain, but if you're just some guy running errands, you're a ghost the second you stop breathing. So why do it? Why stay in a position where you're treated like a disposable tool? Because you're watching the made men, the soldiers, and you see what they have. Respect, fear, that untouchable status where nobody can lay a hand on them without permission from the top. You see them walk into restaurants and never pay a bill. You see them settle disputes with a phone call. And you want that. But there's a problem. Only Italians can get made. Full-blooded Italian or Sicilian descent. It's not written down anywhere official, but it's the rule. Has been since the beginning. You can work for the family your entire life, make them millions of dollars, take bullets for them, and if your last name isn't Italian, you'll die an associate. Guys have spent decades in this life and never moved up because of bloodline. Let's say you've got the right ancestry, though. You're Italian. You've proven yourself reliable, and a made man has taken notice of you. You're sponsored. That's step 1. But sponsorship doesn't guarantee anything. Now comes the real test, and it's not what you think. They're going to ask you to make your bones. Kill someone. A specific someone chosen by the family, usually a problem that needs solving. Could be a rival, could be a rat, could be someone who owes money and won't pay. Doesn't matter who. What matters is that you do it. This serves 2 purposes. First, it proves you're loyal enough to commit murder for the organization. Second, and this is the clever part, it proves you're not law enforcement. Undercover cops can't kill people. So when you pull that trigger, you're burning every bridge back to civilian life. You're committing yourself completely. The ceremony itself happens in secret. Your finger gets pricked with a needle, blood drops onto a card with a saint's image. The card gets set on fire, and while you're passing it hand to hand to avoid getting burned, you're taking the oath of omertà, the code of silence. You swear that you'll never cooperate with police, never betray the family, and you'll die before you talk. And then everything changes, because now you're not an associate anymore. You're a soldier, a made man, untouchable. But what does that actually mean for your daily life? What does a soldier really do? Your primary job is earning. That's the core of everything. You're expected to generate money and kick a portion up to your capo. How you generate that money is mostly up to you within the family's territories and operations. Some soldiers run loan sharking operations, lend money at predatory interest rates, collect payments, break fingers when payments don't come. Others handle bookmaking, taking bets on sports, races, whatever people will gamble on. Protection rackets are classic. Walk into a business, explain that it would be unfortunate if something happened to their establishment, collect weekly payments to ensure nothing does. The beauty of being made is that you can now recruit. Remember all those associates scrambling for recognition? Now they work for you. You organize your own crew of wannabes and hangers-on, put them to work on various schemes, and they kick up to you. You're not generating all the revenue yourself anymore. You're managing a small criminal enterprise and other people's work is filling your pockets. But here's what they don't tell you about being a soldier. The financial reality is wildly inconsistent. Some soldiers are millionaires. They've got their hands in profitable rackets. They're connected to the family's lucrative operations. They've built legitimate business fronts that generate clean money. They're living in expensive homes, driving luxury cars, taking vacations to Italy. Other soldiers are barely scraping by. The rackets they've been assigned aren't particularly profitable. Maybe they're in a weak family that doesn't control much territory. Maybe they're spending every dollar they make on lawyers because they keep getting arrested. Police surveillance makes it hard to operate. Legal fees drain their accounts faster than they can earn. They might look successful on the surface, designer clothes and expensive dinners, but they're not saving anything. It's all for show. Your treatment within the family depends entirely on two factors: how much money you're generating and how loyal you prove yourself to be. A soldier who consistently earns gets respect, gets better opportunities, gets listened to when decisions are being made. A soldier who's constantly broke or bringing heat from law enforcement, tolerated at best, disposable at worst. You're still doing the violent work too. The family needs someone hurt, you might get the call. Witness intimidation before a trial. Collect a debt that's gone too long unpaid. Sometimes it's a hit, someone needs to disappear and your number comes up. The difference now is that you have backup. You're not alone on the streets anymore. Other made men won't touch you without approval from the top. And that approval requires a serious reason. Killing a soldier without permission means death for the person who did it. That's the protection you killed for, but you're still at the bottom of the official hierarchy. You don't receive orders from the boss directly. Orders flow down through the chain. The boss tells the underboss tells your capo tells you. Sometimes you don't even know where an order originated. You just know your capo said to do something, so you do it. Years pass. You're earning, staying loyal, keeping your mouth shut. Then one day, your capo approaches you with an opportunity. There's talk of you getting your own crew, becoming a capo regime. This is the next level, middle management in the organization. Not every soldier gets this promotion. Most don't. You need to have proven yourself exceptionally valuable, generated serious revenue, demonstrated leadership ability, shown that you can manage people and operations without constant supervision. If you make capo, everything expands. You're now in charge of a crew, which means you're commanding anywhere from 10 to 20 soldiers, plus all their associates. That's potentially hundreds of people in your orbit, all generating money, all kicking a percentage up to you. Your responsibility shifts from doing the work to managing the people who do the work. You're running day-to-day operations for your crew, deciding which rackets to pursue, settling disputes between your soldiers, making sure everyone's earning and everyone's kicking up properly. You collect from your soldiers, take your cut, then pass a portion up to the underboss. The money flowing through your hands is substantially larger than anything you saw as a soldier. A successful capo can become genuinely wealthy. But the job comes with pressure that soldiers don't experience. You're navigating internal politics now. You have to keep your soldiers loyal and productive without letting any of them become threatening to you. You have to maintain good relationships with other capos without appearing weak. You have to satisfy the underboss and boss with your crew's performance while not appearing ambitious enough to be a threat. One significant mistake can have consequences that extend beyond just you. Your entire crew can suffer if you fall out of favor. And if you overstep, if you show too much independence or ambition, you might find yourself on the wrong end of a decision made above your head. So, who exactly are you reporting to now? The administration. 3 positions that control everything. The underboss, the consigliere, and the boss himself. Your direct superior is the underboss. He's second in command of the entire family, and in practical terms, he's often the one actually running operations day to day. The boss might be insulated, deliberately removed from street-level decisions, but the underboss is active. He's the one coordinating between all the capos, resolving disputes, authorizing major operations, and ensuring money flows properly up the chain. In many families, the underboss is a relative of the boss. A brother, a son, someone with blood ties that make betrayal less likely. That relationship matters because an underboss knows everything. He has incriminating information about the boss that could destroy him if it reached prosecutors. So bosses protect themselves by keeping that position within the family, literally. If the boss goes to prison, which happens frequently given the attention law enforcement pays to organized crime, the underboss often becomes acting boss, sometimes for years, sometimes permanently if the original boss never makes it out or decides to retire from behind bars. Power shifts, but the structure remains. You report to the underboss, but you don't interact with him casually. Your communication is formal, respectful, and carefully considered. You provide updates on your crew's earnings, seek permission for significant operations, and receive directives that you're expected to execute without question. Then there's the consigliere. He's not in the direct chain of command, but his influence is substantial. He's the boss's advisor and counselor, often an older member with decades of experience. The consigliere attends high-level meetings, mediates internal disputes, and represents the family in negotiations with other families. Think of him as the voice of wisdom in an organization built on violence. When tensions rise between capos, the consigliere might step in to find a solution that avoids bloodshed. When the boss is considering a risky move, the consigliere offers perspective. He's not there to give orders to you directly, but his opinions carry weight that can shape decisions affecting your entire crew. At the very top sits the boss, the don, the man whose word is absolute within the family. You might never meet him personally. Many soldiers and even some capos operate for years without direct contact with the boss. That distance is intentional. It insulates him from prosecution, makes it harder for law enforcement to connect him to specific crimes. Some families have used decoys. A lower-ranking member pretends to be the boss, takes meetings, acts the part, while the real boss operates invisibly in the background. Vincent Gigante famously wandered around Greenwich Village in a bathrobe, pretending to be mentally ill while running the Genovese family for years. The performance kept him out of prison longer than straightforward leadership would have. When the boss does give an order, it flows down through proper channels. He tells the underboss tells the relevant capo, the capo tells you. By the time you're executing the order, you might not even know it originated from the top. You just know your capo said to do something, and that's enough. This structure has survived for nearly a century because it works. The hierarchy creates clear lines of authority while protecting the leadership from direct legal exposure. When law enforcement arrests soldiers and capos, the boss remains untouchable because there's no direct evidence connecting him to street-level crimes. The code of silence, omertà, reinforces everything. You don't cooperate with police. You don't testify. You don't provide information that could harm the family. Breaking omertà means death, not just for you, but potentially for your family. That threat keeps people quiet even when facing serious prison time. But the structure also creates tension. Ambitious capos eye the positions above them. Underbosses consolidate power while bosses are incarcerated. Internal politics can turn deadly when someone decides the current leadership needs to change. History is full of bosses who were killed by their own underlings, power struggles that resulted in wholesale restructuring of families. You're navigating all of this now as a capo. You're close enough to the top to see how decisions get made, but not close enough to make them yourself. You're managing your crew, generating revenue, staying loyal, and watching the dynamics above you carefully. Because in this world, understanding who really holds power and how it flows can mean the difference between rising further or disappearing quietly. The family operates as its own society within the larger world. It has rules, structure, consequences for violations. It provides protection, income, and identity for its members. And it survives because everyone understands their place within the hierarchy and respects the boundaries that come with it. Step outside those boundaries and the same structure that protects you becomes the mechanism of your elimination. From that first $300 handoff on a street corner to commanding your own crew of made men, every level of this hierarchy operates on the same principle. You're valuable as long as you're earning, and you're breathing as long as you're silent. The structure Maranzano built in 1931 still stands because it turns loyalty into currency and violence into policy. Whether you're an expendable associate watching a door or a capo managing millions in illegal revenue, you're part of a machine that's been grinding for nearly a century. And that machine doesn't stop.